So on long walks during the pandemic, Mark Manley and his wife were really struck by the sheer amount of plastic that they were seeing washing up on the shores of Long Island Sound. And that got them to thinking. That observation actually led to a year of research and of testing. They wanted to determine how they could improve the recycling situation. And through that work, Mark learned that actually more than half of bottles and cans, the ones that we can actually return for a deposit here in New York, they end up in landfills or in the ocean. So many of us choose, myself included, the ease of just throwing them into that blue recycling bin that we put out once a week. But as we probably all know, I call myself an aspirational recycler. I kind of hope that all my washed out things are getting recycled. But the reality is, most of those things going into that bin, there's no way to guarantee that they are actually going to be recycled. And so putting all of that together is how MeCycle was born. So MeCycle will actually return your bottles and cans. That ensures they don't end up in landfills, they don't end up in the oceans, they actually get recycled. And as for those deposits, well, you could keep that money, or they can help you donate it to worthwhile causes in the community. So to learn a little bit more, please welcome your fellow Larchmont resident, Mark Manley.
Hello, and thanks for sticking with us, and it's been a long afternoon. I appreciate your time here. I'm actually going to not talk quite about recycling and MeCycle just yet. I've had a long career in sustainability, and a lot of it was in renewable energy, energy efficiency, electric vehicles. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and the changes that I've seen since I was in high school, and sort of give you a sense of kind of the hope that you can have. So climate change and other environmental issues like sea level rise, water and air pollution, or eliminating plastic waste, which I love doing, can seem quite daunting. But I think we can all be truly hopeful that changes can be made in your lifetimes that will solve these problems. Oh, all right. So LED lighting. When I was in high school, an LED light was a large, kind of clunky button-like knob that gave off a dim red light. Wasn't very useful. You used them in calculators or clock radios. And about 15 years ago, LED bulbs emerged that you could use in your home and in a lamp fixture. But they were bulky and almost cost $100 each. So, but today, it's about all you can find in the hardware store. So I like to highlight this as the changes that can happen in a generation. These LED bulbs use about 7 times less energy and last 10 times longer than a regular incandescent bulb. So innovation and change is definitely possible and happen. Brian talked about a lot of that earlier. So good policy helps as well, and it plays an important nudge. In 2007, the EPA introduced limits on incandescent light bulb sales, and that helped drive the LED market to scale up in size and build the production capacity. So industry-changing solutions like this, are complex. They do take a lot of time, and we all need to be patient and persistent. We heard about a project earlier that took a long, long time to get built. Of course, green solutions also need to make financial sense. Economists tell us that competitive product pricing depends very much on getting enough market scale to make mass production feasible, and those famous economies of scale. Government policy helps accelerate adoption, or in the case of lighting, limit the sale of less efficient incandescent bulbs, and create the demand for the industry to invest in that production capacity. Electric vehicles started with heavy lead-acid batteries and needed light loads and limited range. The golf cart, we all know. In the early 90s, the auto industry invested heavily in fuel cells, a kind of reverse battery that was fueled by hydrogen to power electric motors. Hydrogen proved hard to compress and store on a small space in a vehicle. Plus, we needed to build out a completely new distribution infrastructure for hydrogen fuel. So a few years later, really interesting innovation happened. The industry, a couple of players in the industry decided that, rather than strive for an all-electric vehicle, we focus on a hybrid model. we could significantly improve gas mileage and also reduce CO2 emissions by adding a small battery with an assistive electric motor. The hybrid EV was born. So in 2012, the Toyota Prius was the third best-selling car in the world. Millions of hybrids cut more emissions than a few 10,000 fuel cell cars. And perhaps a greater outcome of this innovation, I guess, was approach that it created huge demand for lithium-ion batteries and really kind of kick-started tremendous growth and innovation in battery storage. So that now we're seeing fully electric vehicles throughout the US and certainly all over this New York suburb. Tax credits for both consumers and manufacturers were really an important policy incentive here that helped this market as well. So now EVs have reached a key tipping point, 5% market share in the US, that should really accelerate further adoption. Other markets are even further ahead. China has reached over 25% market share for electric and plug-in hybrid cars there. We'll talk a little bit about solar as well. You've already heard a lot, but 30 years ago, solar cells were used to power remote equipment, cottages, and even basic calculators. But at over $10 a watt cost, solar was nowhere near economical for grid-connected power applications. And at the dawn of this millennium, Germany and Japan, both countries that import vast amounts of energy, really don't have their own natural resources for energy, created attractive incentive programs for solar power plants and residential installations. This ramped up global solar equipment production, panels, inverters, racking, and created the beginnings of a workforce trained to install these new technologies. California, Spain, New Jersey, and many other states and countries followed with their own incentive programs to further grow the industry. And you heard this before, so that today utility-scale solar is lower cost than coal and less than half the cost of natural gas power. Solar is also the largest and fastest growing source of new generation capacity in the US. So, addressing environmental challenges isn't just happening at the national level with policy and industry changing and innovation. Climate change affects local communities just as much. We heard also earlier, we've seen severe rainfall flood entire neighborhoods right here in this community, and just witnessed a full winter with only one day of snow. Actions are also happening here. For over a decade, we've had a robust set of volunteer organizations in the local villages and town. They've accomplished some worthwhile initiatives together, and sometimes having a little friendly competition amongst the different groups helps as well. We heard about the really great plastic ban earlier. So, Town of Mamaroneck Sustainability Collaborative, the Village of Larchmont Environmental Committee, and the Village of Mamaroneck Committee for the Environment are three local volunteer groups that advise their respective municipal governments on sustainability issues, both policy and just sort of technically as well. So sometimes these efforts snowball. We heard about one earlier, and catch on in other jurisdictions. Larchmont issued its plastic bag ban in 2013, with other towns and counties following in later years. And that culminated in a statewide ban of single-use plastic shopping bans in March of 2020. The CoLab for the town of Mamaroneck helped draft the November 2021 Climate Emergency Declaration, which calls on the town to examine all laws, budgets, and planned activities with the climate crisis in mind. This action was inspired by similar declarations made by our neighboring city, New Rochelle, and thousands of other municipalities, countries, and even the European Union. Other times, we see multiple municipalities join force. A number of initiatives in our community benefit from this type of collaboration: composting programs, food waste collection, hybrid refuse trucks, bike-friendly roadways, and a co-op purchasing effort called Solarize that 75 homes in the little tri-village muni area here use to install solar systems on their roofs. I want to dive down on a local project here a little bit more. These still take persistence and time to get identified, identifying the need and the opportunity, and then finally implementing a solution. In 2021, a 483 kilowatt community solar system that helps supply power to over 100 households in the area was commissioned on the roof of the Hommock skating rink just a half mile south of here. Construction only took a few months, but getting the project selected, all parties signed up and ready to build took 3 years, plus the support of a forward-looking, thinking town administration and the perseverance of expert volunteers from the town's COLA. After learning about the community solar model, the town reviewed proposals and several bidders in 2018. But proving the merits of this model to the full town board, negotiating the contracts with suppliers, and getting the right permits took a couple more years until construction finally started in the beginning of 2021. Big projects can get done at the local level, but they do take time and hard work as well. So what are some of the other systematic changes we as a society and you as our next generation of future innovators can work on? Creating a truly circular economy for all our packaged goods. You heard about this a little bit before too. In America, aluminum recycling has fallen below 50%, despite being an ideal package material that can be infinitely recycled. Even worse, we recycle only 10% of all plastic produced. Remember, plastics are made from oil and thus have a significant carbon intensity. The system failure leads to 97 billion pounds per year of plastic in the US going into landfills, oceans, and the atmosphere. About 300 pounds per person per year. One of the best ways to cut these losses is to implement deposit return systems, where consumers are incentivized to properly recycle their containers. A similar approach, called extended producer responsibility, EPR, makes manufacturers of goods, drinks, food, household products responsible for recycling the items in their packaging. Currently, there are 3 proposed EPR bills in the New York legislature, so I encourage you to take a look at those and get in touch with your local representatives to support those. And then more locally, schools are looking at adding solar systems to their roofs, more energy efficiency measures, and of course we need residents just to keep reminding your school boards and administrators that these are high payback investments and something they should keep looking at. And then lastly, talk a little bit more about electric vehicles, but as more families buy EVs, we're going to need additional EV charging options. Shopping areas, apartments, restaurants, sport clubs, I think are all great places to add this kind of infrastructure, and we can do that all around the community here. I missed advancing my slides. Oh, yeah. But seeing positive outcomes to environmental threats can seem elusive, and building sustainable improvements can certainly take time, but persistence pays off. And I think you as our future leaders are going to make really great progress here. Oh, going back too fast. So again, just the 3 key aspects I wanted to share where you can get involved. Community programs, as an innovator, like some of the young folks we heard up here today, kind of creating, designing, and implementing new technologies, or policy making at the local, state, county, too, or national levels. And I want you to realize that change can definitely happen in your lifetime, just as I've seen it happen in mine. Thanks. Around for any questions. I think there's one there, maybe, yeah.
In the intro, it said that the recycling rate countrywide is really poor, but I thought in Westchester we actually have a very good recycling rate. Can you address that?
Sure, absolutely. Westchester is one of the few places where we have a dual stream system. So that means you separate containers, glass, plastic, and aluminum in one bin, and then paper in another bin. And the school here just implemented that division of separation as well here. So hopefully we're going to see that improve at the school too, at the high school. So that helps with when those items are taken to the facilities to further sort those out. That helps with that. And I think as a community we're pretty good at understanding the benefits of recycling. Unfortunately, just as a whole though, and I think the rates are maybe around 30% here, so maybe not kind of 10% like they are elsewhere, and it depends on the material types too. And part of the issues is that And this is what we do as a company at MeCycle. We have a mobile app technology that helps people kind of scan a barcode and decipher what they should do with their recycling. But for example, there are containers that have plastic film wraps on them. I just switched the dishwasher rinse agent in my dishwasher the other day, and like the whole container is wrapped in the film wrap. And when that goes to a sorting facility, the scanners there look at it and go, oh, that's plastic film. We don't recycle that. It gets rejected and ends up in the landfill. The container inside, and it's perfectly normal. Now, I think part of the problem is you're not going to take a knife and end up in the ER because you've stabbed yourself trying to remove that. But unfortunately, we need innovation around packaging and how things are packaged. But also, maybe further innovation in how things are sorted, or with these EPR type rules and kind of specific return to store or other specific return type programs improve that. One of the biggest challenges in recycling is separating out all the different materials that we have. And so, our thesis at MeCycle is that source separation is really the best place to do that, and then keep things separated right from the home where they're generated. One more question.
Oh. How do we get more information about MeCycle and sort of how to sign up for that?
Sure. MeCycle.com, that's me-cycle.com is a great place to start. You can go there. Yeah, that's probably the best spot to go. All right. Well, thanks very much.